Picture a quiet morning in Willow Creek, a neighborhood where the air hums with the rhythm of suburban lifebirds chirping, sprinklers hissing, the faint clink of coffee mugs on porches. The sun spills golden light across manicured lawns, and for a moment everything feels serene. But beneath this polished surface, a storm is brewing. You can almost smell it, the sharp tang of tension, like ozone before a lightning strike. In one corner of this idyllic scene stands a modest two-story home, its wooden gate gleaming with fresh paint. This is your home, the home of Sarah Bennett, a woman who's about to find herself trapped in her own sanctuary. Sarah wakes to the familiar cadence of her morning routine. The scent of brewing coffee fills her kitchen, mingling with the faint sweetness of jasmine from the vine climbing her back porch. She's a graphic designer, her days spent sketching vibrant worlds on her tablet, her evenings tending to her garden, where roses and lavender thrive under her careful hands. Her life, like the neighborhood, follows a rhythm predictable, comforting, steady. But this morning, as she steps outside to retrieve her newspaper, something feels off. The air carries a faint chill, not from the weather, but from an instinct she can't quite name. She approaches her front gate, expecting it to swing open as always, but it doesn't budge. A heavy padlock glints in the sunlight, its metal cold and unyielding. A handwritten note is taped to the gatepost, its edges curling in the morning dew. HOA violation. Gate locked until compliance. Karen. Karen. The name alone sends a ripple through the community, like a pebble dropped in still water. Karen. Mitchell, the HOA president, is a figure both feared and loathed. Her presence is as sharp as the click of her heels on pavement, her voice a grating mix of condescension and command. She's the kind of woman who measures lawn grass with a ruler and sends violation notices for a single weed. Her emails, typed in aggressive all-caps, arrive like missiles in inboxes across Willow Creek. To Sarah, Karen has always been a distant annoyance, a caricature of suburban tyranny. But this lock on her gate's personal dot, Sarah tugs at the padlock, her fingers brushing against its cold surface. Her heart quickens, not with fear, but with a slow-burning anger. She's trapped. Her car sits in the driveway, useless, behind the locked gate. Her appointments, her errands, her life all halted by a piece of metal and a woman's whim. She scans the note again, the words blurring as her pulse races. HOA violation. Her gate is regulation height, painted the approved shade of chestnut brown, installed by a contractor vetted by the HOA itself. There's no violation here, only spite. She steps back, her sneakers sinking slightly into the dew-soaked grass, and notices something else. Neighbors peeking from behind curtains, their faces a mix of curiosity and unease. Across the street, old Mr. Hensley pauses his gardening, his trowel hovering over a flower bed. Next door, Lisa Tran, Sarah's closest friend in the neighborhood, steps onto her porch, her phone already in hand. The rhythm of their lives has been disrupted, and they feel it too. Sarah calls out to Lisa, her voice steady but laced with frustration. Did you see this? She locked my gate. Lisa hurries over, her slippers slapping against the pavement. Karen, she asks, though it's less a question than a confirmation. She inspects the padlock, her brow furrowing. This is insane. She can't just trap you in your own yard. What's her excuse this time? Sarah hands her the note, and Lisa's eyes narrow as she reads it. Violation. My foot, she mutters. This is harassment. Have you seen her this morning? Sarah shakes her head, her gaze drifting down the street toward Karen's house. It's a pristine colonial, its white exterior gleaming, its lawn a perfect emerald square. Even from here, Sarah can imagine Karen inside, sipping tea, smugly satisfied with her latest power play. The morning wears on, and the lock becomes a spectacle. Neighbors gather, their murmurs a low hum, like bees before a swarm. Mr. Hensley shuffles over, his hands stained with earth. She's gone too far, he says, his voice gravelly but firm. Last week, she fined me for my mailbox being too reflective. Now this. Lisa nods, her phone buzzing with texts from the neighborhood group chat. The messages flood in. Karen's lost it. This is illegal, right? Someone needs to do something. Sarah feels the weight of their eyes on her, their outrage, a strange comfort, but it's not enough to quell the knot in her stomach. She tries calling the HOA office, but the line goes to voicemail. Karen's voice, clipped and officious, promising a callback that never comes. She considers climbing the gate, but it's 6 feet tall, topped with pointed finials, and she's no gymnast. She could call a locksmith, but the cost would be steep, and the note's threat of compliance looms large. What does Karen want, and why her? As noon approaches, the street grows hotter, the air thick with the scent of warm asphalt and blooming flowers. Sarah stands by her gate, her phone now in hand, scrolling through the HOA bylaws she downloaded months ago. There's nothing about gate lockouts, nothing about trapping homeowners. This isn't protocol, it's personal. She recalls a fleeting moment from the last HOA meeting, Karen's eyes lingering on her, a smirk playing at her lips when Sarah questioned a proposed rule about garden decorations. Had that been the spark? A single challenge to Karen's iron grip. The community's outrage grows louder. Lisa organizes an impromptu meeting on her porch, where neighbors sip lemonade and vent their frustrations. She's been after my roses for months, says Mrs. Delgado, her voice trembling. Says they're too fragrant for the neighborhood aesthetic. Another neighbor, Tom, chimes in. She threatened to tow my truck because it was parked an inch over my driveway line. The stories pile up, each one a thread in the tapestry of Karen's reign. But Sarah's gate-locked, immovable feels like the boldest stroke yet. By late afternoon, Karen makes her appearance. She strides down the street, her blonde hair pulled into a severe bun, her clipboard clutched like a shield. The crowd parts slightly, their voices hushed, but their eyes sharp. Sarah steps forward, her hands clenched at her sides. Karen, what is this? She demands, pointing to the lock. You can't lock me in my own home. Karen's smile is thin, her eyes glinting with something almost gleeful. Sarah, dear, your gate is a violation. The board voted on stricter access regulations last month. You'd know if you attended meetings. Her voice is syrupy, but it drips with venom. Sarah's jaw tightens. She had attended that meeting, and no such vote had occurred. The neighbors murmur, their skepticism palpable. This isn't about regulations, Sarah says, her voice low but steady. This is about you throwing your weight around. Unlock my gate. Now, Karen's smile doesn't waver, but her eyes narrow. Comply with the HOA, and we'll talk, she says, turning on her heel. The crowd erupts in protests, but Karen walks away, her heels clicking a triumphant rhythm as dusk settles. The air cools, carrying the faint scent of Sarah's lavender. She stands by her gate, the padlock, a mocking symbol of her confinement. The neighborhood's outrage simmers, but it's clear Karen won't back down easily. Sarah's mind races, searching for a way out, not just from her yard, but from Karen's control. The rhythm of her life, once so steady, now pulses with a new beat, defiance. Imagine yourself standing in the dim glow of a summer evening, the air heavy with the scent of cooling grass and distant barbecues. The neighborhood of Willow Creek hums softly, its rhythm disrupted but not yet broken. Sarah Bennett leans against her locked gate, the padlock's cold metal a constant reminder of Karen Mitchell's audacity. The stars are just beginning to prick the sky, and the faint chirp of crickets fills the silence. But Sarah's mind is far from calm. The outrage of her neighbors still lingers, their voices echoing in her thoughts. Yet it's the sting of Karen's smug smile that fuels a growing resolve. This isn't just about a gate, it's about power, and Sarah is done being powerless. The next morning, Sarah wakes with a clarity she hasn't felt in days. The scent of her morning coffee is sharper, the sunlight streaming through her kitchen window more vivid. She sits at her table, her laptop open, scrolling through the neighborhood group chat. The messages are a chorus of frustration. Karen, untouchable. She's got the board in her pocket. What's next? Locking our doors. But one message from Lisa Tran catches her eye. Check Karen's property records. Something's off. Lisa, ever the sleuth, has a knack for sniffing out secrets. Sarah trusts her instincts and dives into public records, her fingers flying across the keyboard. What she finds is a thread that unravels Karen's facade. Karen's house, that pristine colonial, is heavily mortgaged, its payments delinquent. But there's more. A recent application to rezone a nearby parcel of land Sarah's land for commercial use. The application, buried in bureaucratic jargon, lists Karen as a co-signer with a developer named Pinnacle Properties. Sarah's heart skips. Her property, with its sprawling backyard and proximity to the main road, is prime real estate. Karen's gate lockout wasn't just petty HOA nonsense, it was a calculated move to pressure Sarah into selling cheap, to make her life unlivable until she caved. The violation notice, the lock, the isolation, all pieces of a vendetta cloaked in HOA authority. Sarah leans back, the chair creaking under her weight, the air thick with the scent of her untouched coffee. The rhythm of her life, once so predictable, now thrums with purpose. She could confront Karen, demand answers, but Karen's too slippery, her denials too polished. No, Sarah needs something bolder, something that hits Karen where it hurts. Her gaze drifts to her backyard, where her garden thrives, its soil rich and dark, fed by an irrigation system she installed last year. The system's pipes snake underground, connecting to a water line that runs close to Karen's property. An idea sparks, wild and reckless, but oh so tempting. What if Karen's perfect lawn, her pride and joy, became a casualty of her own game? She calls Lisa, her voice low but steady. I need your help, she says, explaining her findings. Lisa's response is immediate. I'm in. Let's make her regret this. They meet at Lisa's porch, the air warm with the scent of blooming honeysuckle. Lisa's husband, Mike, a plumber by trade, joins them, his toolbox clanking softly. Sarah outlines her plan. Redirect the irrigation line to flood Karen's yard, turning her manicured lawn into a muddy ruin. It's not just revenge, it's a statement. Karen's power thrives on appearances, on her pristine house and flawless lawn. Ruin that, and you ruin her credibility. Mike nods, his eyes gleaming with mischief. It's doable, he says, sketching a diagram on a napkin. We tap into your main line, reroute it under the fence line, and aim it at her backyard. It'll look like a burst pipe, not sabotage. The plan is risky. Tampering with water lines could bring legal trouble. Sarah's beyond caring. Karen's crossed a line, and Sarah's ready to cross one back. The neighborhood's outrage, simmering synth system. I apologize for the cutoff. Here's the continuation of segment 2, picking up seamlessly from where we left off to maintain. The stories flow and adhere to the 1,200-word requirement. Since the last HOA meeting fuels her resolve. The plan feels like a rebellion against the rhythm of Karen's control. A chance to disrupt her carefully curated world. Mike's sketch is simple but precise, the lines of his pen tracing a path of retribution. The irrigation system's main line runs just beneath the shared fence line, close enough to Karen's backyard to make the flooding plausible as an accident. We'll need a valve and some piping, Mike explains, his voice calm but tinged with excitement. I can rig it tonight, under cover of darkness. By morning, her lawn will be a swamp. Sarah nods, her fingers tracing the edge of the napkin, the texture rough under her touch. The scent of honeysuckle lingers, a sweet counterpoint to the bitter edge of her plan. The neighborhood group chat buzzes with new energy. Sarah shares her discovery about Karen's rezoning scheme, and the response is electric. Mr. Hensley offers to keep watch, his old binoculars trained on Karen's house to ensure she doesn't suspect anything. Mrs. Delgado volunteers to distract Karen with a fabricated complaint about her own roses, keeping her occupied. Tom, the truck owner, agrees to lend his tools and muscle, his frustration with Karen's rules boiling over into action. The community, once fragmented by Karen's tyranny, begins to coalesce, their shared anger a quiet hum like the distant rumble of a storm. As night falls, the air grows cooler, carrying the earthy scent of damp soil and the faint tang of metal from Mike's tools. Sarah, Lisa, and Mike work under the cover of darkness, their movements careful and deliberate. The moon casts a pale glow, turning the grass silver, and the only sounds are the soft clink of tools and the occasional rustle of leaves. Mike digs a shallow trench along the fence line, his shovel slicing through the soil with a rhythmic scrape. Sarah holds a flashlight, its beams steady, illuminating the pipe as Mike attaches a new valve. The water line, when redirected, will send a steady stream into Karen's yard, pooling in her low-lying lawn. It'll look natural, Mike assures, his breath visible in the cool night air. Like her sprinkler system went haywire. Sarah's heart pounds, not with fear, but with anticipation. She imagines Karen's face tomorrow morning. Her pristine lawn transformed into a muddy mess. Her authority undermined by the very perfection she wields like a weapon. The thought is intoxicating, but Sarah keeps her focus, helping Lisa coil the extra piping, its smooth surface cool against her palms. They work in silence, the rhythm of their lives now a shared conspiracy. Each movement a step toward reclaiming control. By midnight, the job is done. Mike tests the valve, and a soft hiss confirms the water's flow. Sarah peers through the fence, watching as the first trickles soak into Karen's grass, darkening the earth. The scent of wet soil rises, mingling with the night's coolness, and Sarah feels a surge of satisfaction. It's not just about her gate anymore, it's about the neighborhood, the constant struggle against Karen's overreach. They cover their tracks, smoothing the dirt, erasing evidence of their work. The stars above are bright, the air crisp, and Sarah feels a strange peace, as if the rhythm of her life has shifted to a new, defiant beat. The next morning, Sarah wakes early, the scent of coffee grounding her as she steps outside. The sun is just rising, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. She hears it before she sees it, a faint gurgle, then a shout. Karen's voice, sharp and frantic, cuts through the morning calm. Sarah walks to her gate, still locked, and peers through the slats. Karen's backyard is a quagmire, the water pooling in thick, muddy patches, her prized roses drooping under the weight of sodden earth. Neighbors gather, their murmurs a familiar hum, but now tinged with amusement. "What happened?" Lisa calls out, her tone innocent but her eyes gleaming. Karen, in a pristine white blouse now splattered with mud, glares at the crowd. "This is vandalism," she snaps, her voice cracking like dry twigs. Sarah stays silent, her expression neutral, but inside she's alight with triumph. The community's support has grown bolder. The group chat now buzzes with photos of Karen's ruined lawn, captioned with sly emojis. Mrs. Delgado adds, "About time." The neighborhood's rhythm, once dictated by Karen's rules, now pulses with a collective defiance. Sarah knows this is only the beginning. Karen won't let this slide. But for now, the muddy ruin of her lawn is a victory, a crack in her armor. As the morning unfolds, Sarah notices a shift. Neighbors linger longer on their porches, their conversations louder, their laughter freer. The air carries the scent of wet earth and possibility. Sarah's gate remains locked, but her spirit is unshackled. She struck a blow, and the community stands with her, their outrage now a weapon. Karen's vendetta, her secret plan to profit from Sarah's land, has been exposed, and the neighborhood is turning against her. The stage is set for a confrontation, one that will test the limits of Karen's control and Sarah's resolve. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a storm, where the air is thick with the scent of wet earth and the tension crackles like static. In Willow Creek, the morning sun struggles to pierce a sky heavy with clouds, casting a muted glow over Karen Mitchell's ruined lawn. The once pristine grass is a churned mess of mud, the water from Sarah Bennett's redirected irrigation line pooling in dark, glistening patches. The neighborhood hums with a new rhythm, one of defiance and whispered triumph. As neighbors linger on their porches, their eyes darting toward Karen's house, Sarah stands by her locked gate, the padlock's cold weight a constant reminder of her confinement, but her heart beats with the thrill of her small victory. The muddy ruin across the street is a crack in Karen's armor, and Sarah knows the HOA tyrant won't let it go unanswered. The day begins with a deceptive calm, the air carrying the faint sweetness of blooming jasmine from Sarah's garden. She sips her coffee, its warmth grounding her, as she watches Karen emerge from her house. Karen's usually immaculate appearance is frayed. Her white blouse, now streaked with mud, clings to her frame, and her hair, freed from its severe bun, hangs in damp strands. Her eyes blaze with fury, scanning the crowd of neighbors who've gathered, their phones discreetly snapping photos. The group chat buzzes with updates. She's losing it. Look at her lawn. Sarah feels the weight of their support, a quiet strength that steadies her as Karen's gaze lands on her. You. Karen's voice slices through the morning, sharp as shattered glass. She marches across the street, her heels sinking into the muddy remnants of her own yard, each step a squelching rebuke. This is your doing, Sarah Bennett. The accusation hangs in the air, drawing gasps from the neighbors. Sarah steps forward, her sneakers firm on her own dry grass, and meets Karen's glare. I don't know what you're talking about, she says, her voice calm but edged with steel. Looks like your sprinklers malfunctioned. Maybe you should check your own HOA rules about maintenance. The crowd murmurs, a low hum of amusement and approval. Lisa Tran, standing nearby, stifles a grin, her eyes glinting with mischief. Mr. Hensley, leaning on his cane, mutters, about time someone stood up to her. But Karen's not deterred. Her face flushes a deep crimson, and she jabs a finger at Sarah, her clipboard abandoned in the mud. Don't play innocent, she hisses. You sabotaged my property. I'll have you fined, evicted, sued. Her voice rises, shrill and unsteady, cracking the facade of control she's clung to for so long. Sarah holds her ground, the scent of damp earth rising around her, a reminder of the chaos she's unleashed. You locked me in my own home, Karen, she says, her words deliberate, each one landing like a stone. You're the one breaking rules. Or is this about something else, like my land? The question hangs heavy, and the neighbors' murmurs grow louder. Karen's eyes widen, a flicker of panic betraying her before she masks it with a sneer. You're delusional, she snaps, but her voice wavers, and Sarah knows she's struck a nerve. The confrontation escalates as Karen steps closer, her heels slipping in the mud. She lunges, grabbing Sarah's arm, her nails digging into the soft fabric of Sarah's sweater. You'll pay for this, she screams, her composure unraveling. Sarah yanks her arm free, stumbling back, her heart racing. The crowd surges forward, their voices rising in protest, but Karen's rage is a force of its own. She slips in the mud, her arms flailing, and crashes into Sarah, sending them both sprawling into the soggy mess of Karen's lawn. The impact is a shock of cold and wet, the mud thick and clinging, its earthy scent overwhelming. The brawl is chaotic, a tangle of limbs and fury. Sarah scrambles to her feet, her clothes heavy with mud, but Karen's relentless, her hands clawing at Sarah's hair. The neighbors shout, some calling for calm, others filming the spectacle. Lisa rushes forward, trying to pull Karen back, but slips in the muck, landing beside them. The scene is a blur of movement, the air filled with the squelch of mud and the sharp gasps of onlookers. Sarah's elbow catches Karen's cheek, a glancing blow that draws a thin line of blood, stark against the mud. Karen shrieks, her rage spiraling into something almost feral, her hands swinging wildly. For a moment, it seems the fight will spiral into tragedy. Sarah's breath catches as Karen grabs a garden trowel from the nearby flower bed, its blade glinting in the dim light. The crowd gasps, and Mr. Hensley shouts, "Stop her!" Sarah ducks as Karen swings, the trowel missing her by inches, embedding itself in the mud. The near miss jolts Sarah, her anger giving way to a cold clarity. She tackles Karen, pinning her in the muck, her hands gripping Karen's wrists. Enough, Sarah yells, her voice raw but commanding. Karen struggles, her breath ragged, but the fight drains from her as the neighbors close in, their presence a silent ultimatum. The air is thick with the scent of mud and sweat, the rhythm of the neighborhood now a chaotic pulse. Karen lies, panting in the mud, her pristine image shattered, her authority crumbling. Sarah rises, her clothes sodden, her hands trembling, but her resolve unbroken. The crowd is silent, their phones lowered, their faces a mix of shock and awe. Lisa helps Sarah to her feet, whispering, "You okay?" Sarah nods, wiping mud from her face, the texture gritty against her skin. She looks down at Karen, who's struggling to sit up, her eyes burning with humiliation. The brawl has changed everything. The neighborhood's outrage, once a simmer, now boils over. The group chat explodes with videos of the fight, captioned with calls for Karen's removal from the HOA board. She's unhinged. We can't let her run this place anymore. Sarah feels the shift, the community's rhythm aligning with her own defiance. But she knows Karen's not done. Her vendetta runs deeper than a muddy lawn or a public humiliation. The rezoning scheme, the lock on her gate, the fight, they're all pieces of a larger plan. One Sarah's determined to uncover. As the crowd disperses, the clouds part, and a weak sun casts long shadows across the muddy battlefield. Sarah stands by her gate, the padlock still in place, but its power over her has weakened. The scent of jasmine drifts from her garden, a quiet reminder of the life she's fighting for. Karen, now alone in her ruined yard, glares at Sarah, her face a mask of mud and blood. The rhythm of their lives, once so separate, now collides in a dance of defiance and desperation. Setting the stage for a final reckoning, picture yourself in the aftermath of chaos, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of damp earth and fading adrenaline. In Willow Creek, the morning after the muddy brawl dawns with an uneasy calm, the sun casting a pale light over lawns still glistening with dew. Sarah Bennett stands on her porch, her clothes clean but her spirit marked by the struggle. The padlock on her gate remains, its metal glinting mockingly, but the neighborhood's rhythm has shifted. The hum of defiance now pulses through the streets, carried by whispers and knowing glances. Karen Mitchell's muddy defeat has cracked her reign, but Sarah senses the story isn't over. The air carries a faint tang of unresolved tension, like the distant rumble of thunder. Something deeper, something hidden, drives Karen's vendetta, and Sarah is determined to uncover it. The day unfolds slowly, the scent of fresh coffee grounding Sarah as she sits at her kitchen table, her laptop open. The neighborhood group chat is ablaze with footage of the brawl, the images of Karen flailing in the mud shared with gleeful captions. Her crown's fallen, time for a new HOA. But Sarah's focus is elsewhere. She revisits the property records she found earlier, the rezoning application tying Karen to Pinnacle Properties. The developer's name nags at her, a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. She digs deeper, her fingers tapping a steady rhythm. On the keyboard, the air thick with the faint hum of her printer, churning out documents. A name surfaces, Richard Grayson, Pinnacle's CEO, a man with a reputation for snapping up undervalued properties in quiet suburbs like Willow Creek. Sarah's breath catches as she uncovers a trail of emails leaked by an anonymous source in the group chat, likely Lisa's doing. The emails buried in a public records request, reveal Karen's correspondence with Grayson. They're careful, couched in vague terms, but the intent is clear. Karen's been promised a hefty commission if she can secure Sarah's property for Pinnacle's planned strip mall. The gate lockout, the fabricated violations, the harassment, they were all designed to make Sarah's life unlivable, to force her to sell at a fraction of her land's value. The rezoning scheme wasn't just greed, it was betrayal, a violation of the community's trust. Sarah leans back, the chair creaking softly, the scent of ink and warm paper mingling with her growing resolve. She calls Lisa and Mike, her voice steady but urgent. We need to expose her, she says, sharing her findings. They meet at Lisa's porch, the air warm with the scent of blooming honeysuckle, now tinged with the faint musk of yesterday's mud. Mike, still nursing a bruise from the brawl, nods grimly. We take this to the HOA board, the whole neighborhood. She's done. Lisa's eyes gleam with determination. Let's call an emergency meeting. Everyone's already on edge. She won't wiggle out of this. The community's outrage, once a simmer, now surges like a tide. Ready to sweep Karen away, Sarah organizes the meeting with precision. Her graphic designer's eye-crafting, a presentation that lays out Karen's scheme in stark detail. She prints flyers, their crisp edges sharp in her hands, and distributes them door to door. The neighborhood responds swiftly, the group chat buzzing with confirmations. I'm there. She's gone too far. Mr. Hensley offers his backyard. For the meeting, its wooden benches, shaded by an old oak, the air rich with the scent of moss and fresh-cut grass. Mrs. Delgado brings lemonade, its tartness a sharp contrast to the heavy mood. Tom, the truck owner, sets up a projector, its hum a quiet backdrop to the gathering storm. As dusk falls, the neighborhood assembles, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of string lights. Sarah stands before them, her voice calm but commanding, the rhythm of her words pulling them in. Karen's been lying to us, she begins, projecting the emails onto a makeshift screen. The crowd murmurs, their anger palpable as she details the rezoning plan, the commission, the deliberate targeting of her property. She locked my gate to break me, Sarah says, her gaze sweeping the crowd. But she's been breaking all of us, with her rules, her fines, her control. The air crackles with agreement, the scent of earth and lemonade grounding the moment. Karen arrives late, her heels clicking defiantly, her face a mask of forced composure. The mud is gone, her blouse pristine, but her eyes betray a flicker of fear. This is slander, she declares, her voice sharp but unsteady. You have no proof. Sarah holds up the printed emails, their black ink stark against the white paper. We have everything, she says, and the crowd erupts, their voices a chorus of demands. Step down. Unlock her gate. Karen's composure cracks, her hands trembling as she clutches her clipboard. Now a flimsy shield. The turning point comes when Mr. Hensley, his voice gravelly but firm, reveals a final pizza del rompecabezas. He's spoken to a lawyer friend who confirms the lockout is illegal, a violation of property rights. The rezoning application, filed without proper HOA approval, is null and void. Karen's scheme collapses under the weight of her own arrogance. The crowd surges forward, their outrage a living thing, and Karen steps back, her heels sinking into the soft earth. You can't do this, she stammers, but the rhythm of her control has broken. replaced by the community's unified resolve. Sarah feels the shift, the air lighter now, carrying the faint sweetness of victory. The HOA board, pressured by the crowd, votes on the spot to remove Karen as president. A locksmith, called by Lisa, arrives to cut the padlock from Sarah's gate, its metal clattering to the ground with a satisfying thud. The crowd cheers, their voices rising into the night, a new rhythm of freedom. Karen, defeated, slinks away, her heels no longer clicking but dragging, her empire reduced to a muddy memory. As the meeting disperses, Sarah stands by her open gate, the air cool and fragrant with jasmine. The neighborhood's rhythm, once dictated by Karen's tyranny, now hums with possibility. She reflects on the constant struggle, the fight to reclaim her home, her community. The victory is sweet, not just for her, but for all of Willow Creek. The scent of freedom lingers, a gentle reminder that even the smallest rebellion can shift the tide.